of green hydrogen, blue hydrogen, gray hydrogen, turquoise, pink, and yellow. And you, being an expert in hydrogen pods, would be able to shed some light into the current growing technology. And Petronas, being an investor, a diversified investor in projects, technologies, products, and services, certainly have, I can say that certainly have done more work on this. And hereby would like to welcome you to share some of your journey, how a staunch oilman from instrumentation and controls pivoted into this territory of energy transition. Well, if I were to ask any staunch oilman, they would, or maybe back 5 years ago, if we backpedal, they would be reluctant to accept the change. But as the energy efficiency gaining traction and people are more concerned about the GHG and carbon footprint, like it or not, we have to adapt to the tides. We have to adapt to the change. And 2 years ago, we were at the crossroads to accept this change. And a couple of years ago, it's been a great years for many organizations who have rebranded themselves into different subsidiaries, pursuing different form of energies with reduced carbon footprint. Yep. And we do have students here, undergraduates, professionals, we do have parents, and we would like to hear from you on how well a graduate would be leverage their skill set and be able to choose the right path to remain relevant within the industry. And thank you for joining with us today.
Thank you. Yeah, over to me. Can you hear me, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Firstly, thank you very much, Kale, for the introduction. And I have to also thank Satish for inviting me to give this talk. So firstly, I think I'm going to disappoint you because I'm not going to talk about any of the colors of all this hydrogen. I think that can take another hour by itself, but you know, that's a different discussion. I also thank you for giving the introduction fully in English. I think you're trying to save me a little bit because you know my Tamil is not all that great, you know. So because if I do this talk in Tamil, then I think it will be empty very soon. In 5-10 minutes, I think. So so anyway, I think I'll just have a casual conversation. I know the context about what you guys are doing. I think what you guys in CUMIG are doing is amazing. So when I met Satish, I think about 2 weeks ago, and when he asked me, I just said, okay, yes, I will definitely do it. So I think I know you have you have a lot of questions on your mind. I know you're thinking, how does an Indian get into Petronas? You know, this oil and gas is all with high salaries. What is the, you know, what do we do there? What does Petronas do? You know, so I know you have many questions. I will try to share my personal journey, and I think I just want to give you guys some guidance as parents, both parents and students as a community about how we look at the industry. All right, so I'll share a bit of the future, the industry, the future, what you can do, and also what are you willing to do with regards to the oil and gas industry. I think that's an important point. Okay, so maybe let me share my deck. So I didn't prepare a presentation pack, but this pack is a pack that I did with a sharing with my former university before. So okay, so how do I share it? I just share my entire screen, is it? That's better, right?
Yes, you can share your entire screen.
Okay. So can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a talk that I gave as an adjunct lecturer to my former university. So it talks about automation in the oil and gas industry. So why automation? I'll explain why automation. So a bit of background about myself. Okay, I'm born and raised in Klang Valley. I'm a city boy. All my relatives, my parents are all from Penang. My extended relatives are all from Penang. I sesat we care lah. Okay, so I grew up in an area called PJ. I think maybe some of you are from there, but I spent most of my time growing up in a place called Kampung Lindungan. I don't know, at that time, when it was in the 90s, that's when Bandar Sunway was starting to grow up, and it was adjacent to where I am. I think currently that place still exists, but it's all Indonesians only staying there. Maybe some of you might still know that place. Okay, so I'm married. I have 2 kids. So I went to school in Sri Kelana. Then I went to Seaport School, all in PJ. After that, I went to my parents decided that they wanted me to go to an asrama school for better opportunities. Okay. Naturally, we all Indians, we don't want to live anywhere. We are so used to our comfort zone. So this is the first point about discussing our community as a whole, right? Who wants to go? Nobody wants to go. What for? I want to live. I'm so comfortable. But eventually, I went. I had the opportunity, and I was asked to go lah. So I go. After that, after I finished, I did 2 years in RMC, and then after that, I got a Petronas scholarship. At that time, I didn't want to be an engineer. I didn't want to get to become an engineer, because my ambition was always to be a pilot. Okay. But at that time, collectively, my family decided that and told me that an opportunity, a scholarship from Petronas is too good to pass up. So I relented, I accepted, and I went. At that time, I don't know anything about the oil and gas industry. I don't know anything about Petronas. I don't know what is it they do for the country. I was 17 years old. Today, I think you guys are much more knowledgeable about the industry wherever you are. That's what I believe. Okay. So I reluctantly studied there in UTP. That time, there was nothing there. If you go to UTP today, I don't know how many of you here are from UTP. UTP is a totally different place 20 years onwards. Okay, at that time, it was just bare bones. Okay, so when I graduated from UTP in 2002, I was the second batch to graduate from UTP. Okay, it was at the time during the financial crisis, so they converted Institute Petronas to University Petronas, and I was given. I graduated from there. So then, since I'm a scholar, that is an interesting story I have to tell you. So at that time, all universities' industrial training programs are only 3 months. Yeah. University Petronas decided that they're going to do it for 8 months. It's almost 1 whole semester. So when we are looking for placements, naturally, where I want to go, I want to balik lah. So I didn't want to go anywhere, anything to do with the oil and gas industry, because I didn't know anything about it. So at that time, 20 years ago, IT was such a hot topic, right? So I decided that, okay, I want to go and work for Corners Engineering. It's a telecommunications company. I managed to get my placement. So I came back, and it was in PJ, nearby to my house, very comfortable, very happy. The company doesn't exist today. Okay, Corners Engineering doesn't exist anymore. Right. So just to show how things change with perspective. But I did my industrial training and I enjoyed it. Then, okay, after I graduated, I have to wait for a placement. Okay, so this is when it all starts to get very interesting, right? I was bonded. Okay, I was bonded. So I was asked to go. I knew I will have to be sent somewhere which I didn't want to go. And I think this is very common with us in the community, because where is oil and gas is all these places where you don't want to go. So if I knew it's going to be somewhere like Kerteh or Sarawak or Sabah, and at the time I just wanted to be close by. So eventually I got sent to Kuantan. So I went to Kuantan, and even then I told myself, okay, I'm only going to be here for 3 years. I'm going to master everything that I know about this plant, about my industry, and then I'm going to cabut. But I stayed there for close to 10 years. Okay. And then after that, I got back to KL, and I'm in a consulting group of Petronas Group Technical Solutions. So I spent 20 years. This year is going to be my 20 years in the organization. So I spent quite a long time. Okay, so I need to make a disclaimer here. I'm one of the lucky ones. Okay, not many of you are going to be privileged to get the opportunities that I got. Okay, I went to RMC. It gave me the opportunity because companies go there to select talents. I was lucky to be chosen then, and then I got a scholarship. With a scholarship, I was secured a job in an organization that I absolutely don't know anything about. Right? So I'm lucky. But even with luck, when you're given the opportunity, you need to take it. Meaning to say that you still need to work for it, even if you are given the opportunity, because you cannot, luck will not just land. You need to create that luck for you. Yeah. So I'm a bright student, yes, but I'm not ready. I don't think so. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe if you ask my friends, maybe they'll say, but maybe I'm a bit gifted. But I've seen more gifted friends of mine. Yes. So yeah. So this is my journey. This is how I ended up. But I have still seen many Indians in the oil and gas industry, and I will share with you how you can come about and how you end up being in an organization, because there are plenty of opportunities in this industry. I promise you this. All right. Okay. All these things, not it lah. IR safety. Okay. So let's look at the oil and gas sector overview. Okay. Now this oil and gas industry is dominated by engineers. Totally dominated by engineers. Okay. Why? So if you look at oil and gas, I don't know how many of you actually know the full spectrum of oil and gas. And even until today, 20 years later, I am still learning about some segment of the business because it's too big. I think 2 days ago, I think Vinod, shared about something about automation and robotics manufacturing, and he said that is a cuddle. So you can imagine how big this cuddle is. If that is South China Sea, this is like the Atlantic. Or even the Pacific, right? So it's huge. You've got exploration. This is where you extract the oil and the gas. Then, can you see my pointer? Do you see my pointer, or do I need to have?
Yes, we can see your cursor.
Okay, so let me just use this. So you have, this is exploration. This in our business, we call it as upstream. Okay, everything upstream takes place offshore. Then we have midstream. Midstream is where we the gas, we liquefy it, or we do some processing, or we do some refining, and then you get all your products. These products then become raw material for you to use in your fuel, to fire your to cook your food, to drive your car, and some of them become material for you to further refine into further products that you use in your everyday life, like your handphone casing, the dashboard, the materials that you use in your pen, or the rubber that is on your watch. They all come from oil and gas. Okay, so there is plenty of things in the whole oil and gas. Okay, and what happens in the oil and gas sector? Okay, wait, before I go this. So in the oil and gas sector, you have there are big segments like research. their project management. You as an engineer, then you will have developed projects because somebody wants to develop an oil field. Then you will do the engineering for this oil field. You will be involved in research if there are new technologies to make products better. You will do installation, construction, commissioning of these activities. You can also then go and operate and maintain. I was doing that for 8 years in the MTB plant. So these are all very, very big segments, and there are plenty of roles that is needed in every of these big areas. Okay, so I've only talked about the areas. I've not talked about the discipline engineering yet. So I'll come to that. So I think I will skip this one. Okay, so here, if you look at this, if you understand natural gas, and then if you look at the composition and stuff, then this is related to process. So you become a process engineer, you'll be dealing with this kind of things, right? So one example of the challenges, I'll just give a very simple one. If I extract the gas from offshore, it comes in the form of gas. But if I want to sell the gas, it's very difficult for me to sell it in the gas, because gas, I need a small, can only fill up a small volume. But if I want to sell more volume at the same time, I need to liquefy it. That's why you call liquefied natural gas. And then you see all the tankers going around LNG business, that's what it is. If you liquefy something, you can have more volume of it inside there. So how do you liquefy a gas? So then here you need to bring the temperature of the gas down to minus 150 degrees C. So you can imagine 0 C is cold. You go for your anywhere cold weather, it's cold. This is dealing with things or gas or materials at 150 degrees C. There are a lot of things to consider at minus 150 degrees C, right? So this is a challenge, and engineers resolve this challenge to make better products, more reliable products, more reliable maybe piping or equipment that can last longer in this type of environment. So these are the roles of engineers in this industry. Yeah. Okay, so this one I kind of like explain. So this just gives you an overview, like from just natural gas. If I change it to methanol, right? Now I can have methanol is now sold to all these industries to produce all these things in your daily life. Where does methanol come from? Methanol comes from the crude oil, from the crude natural gas that we extract. So this is how big the industry actually is. Okay. Now, this is another example of how do you get natural gas is basically methane. How do you change methane to methanol? So if you're a process engineer, you will look at all this. This is the perfect formula, but in reality, it doesn't work like that. Now, what I want to show you is, this is the chemical formula. How does this chemical formula take place in the real world? This is how it looks like in the real world. So in the real world, you have natural gas, you have a desulfurization, then you have fired equipment, you have plenty of equipment just for it to come out as methanol at the bottom here. And this is on paper. Physically, this thing is like spread over many acres of land. Okay, so this is like a methanol plant in Labuan. In Labuan, there's a very big methanol plant. So this process takes place there with all these equipments. Now look at the equipments. So when we talk about equipments in the oil and gas, you've got fire equipment. We're talking about boiler, furnace. These are huge equipment that are firing very high temperatures. Okay, you have heat exchangers, fans, blowers to cool things down, pumps to push liquid, compressor, motors, steam turbines. So these are all huge equipment, right? All mechanical equipments, which all need to be controlled, right? So I've already given you overview. You can be a process engineer, you can be a mechanical engineer, you can be even in mechanical engineer, there's a static equipment engineer, you have a rotating equipment engineer, you've got a pipeline engineer. you have electrical engineers, you have instrument engineers, plenty of things. Okay. And okay, so my background, I studied electrical and electronics, but when I was given the job in Petronas, my title was instrument engineer. My title was instrument engineer. But as an instrument engineer, I spent 15 years, 20 years as instrument engineer. I always have a challenge to explain to people what I do. What is an instrument engineer? How to explain? So many people don't ask. I prefer not to explain. If I say electrical, everybody knows. If I say instrument, it becomes very difficult. And instrument engineering is also like automation. That is also like a kernel. I'll show you. So if you become if you choose electrical and electronics, okay, as a career path, right? When you learn your fundamentals in your university, this is what you will learn. You will learn about signaling, you will learn about semiconductors, you will learn about computer telecommunication, you will look at all this. You won't understand why Yanda the particular. Okay, so this like, because you cannot see the relation between this to what is actually what you're going to see in the industry. So all these components are involved in controlling something like this. Okay, if I want to control the pressure, okay, of the gas inside this pipeline, I need to use a transmitter which has a sensor and some electronics so that I can give a signal. And this, if the pressure is too high, I will need to send a signal to close this valve. If the pressure is too low, I need a signal to open up this valve. All this can only be done with some electronics background. But you see the relationship. There is piping engineer here. Okay, there is a materials engineer here. There will be mechanical engineer here. There will be instrument engineer here, and there will be electrical engineer involved. So it's all an interconnect. And if this is offshore, then there will be some offshore engineers, process engineers who will tell you how the process is supposed to be operated. So it's all interconnected. So anyhow you end up in the industry, it doesn't really matter. Okay. So I'm doing okay with time. So what I want to highlight here is that, okay, so when you look at process, these are some of the challenges that we face in the process that you all will have to deal with. Let's skip this one. Skip this one. Skip. So, okay, so I was just telling you about instrumentation, right? So this is instrumentation. So in the instrumentation world, as an engineer, you need to know about all these things. So you need to learn about sensors, you need to learn about controllers, you need to learn about control system. So in the controllers, I will need to know about signaling, how much power to size. I need to know a bit of IT. I need to now deal with cyber security. I need to do programming of the logic, network, communication. So these are all things that you learn in university, but you come here and you apply. Okay. So these are some of the logics that you need to do to that you will, if you're an electrical engineer, I mean, you will be doing this lah, some involved in this kind of things. Then there is valves. Okay, valves are things that you control the flow. Then you have in the instrument world, I've got even valves. I got different class of valves. I got shutdown valves, which are very big. I got control valves, solenoid valves. Then I've got fire and gas detectors. I've got safety systems, control systems. There are just so many things that I need to know. So the other thing that I want to highlight is that your learning basically doesn't stop. In fact, you start learning when you start entering the workplace in the oil and gas industry. There is no you cannot run away from that. If it's you cannot like, okay, I want to go, I get a good degree, I land a job, that's it, it's over. No. Unfortunately, engineering is not like that. In engineering, your learning is forever and ever, because in engineering, things change all the time. Things change very fast. In fact, with this current environment now, it changes, technology changes even faster. So it's harder for you guys. Okay, so sometimes you say, you know, you got Google, you got Chat GPT, you got this makes life easier. I don't think so. Sometimes the pace of change is too fast, and if you want to be good, you just need to keep up with the pace. So it's very difficult, right? So what's happening in the industry now? In the industry, there are, you know, there is the traditional oil and gas, which I shared with you earlier. Then at the same time, we have digitalization coming in, right? With telecommunication, which is also coming in. Why telecommunication is a big deal in the oil and gas industry? It means that we now can have remote platform. We don't have to send people anymore. We can have less people because I can now control from shore. From shore means like from here. I can see my platform from here. 10 years ago, 15 years ago, there's no such thing, right? But now I can see how my plant is operating. I can able to make some changes from here also now because technology allows it. Okay, so this digitalization opens up a lot of opportunities for improvement. So what happens in all this industry, like any industry, construction industry, oil and gas industry, automation industry, they're always evolving to make things better, to improve profit margin by reducing the cost. It's always about reducing the cost. When you reduce the cost, means that you are adding value. So engineers are always needed to make things safer, to bring the cost down, and to apply new technologies so that operations are better, more reliable. So example of, I give you an example, like every I have a big house. No, not house. I don't think house is a good example. Okay, let's say I have an office. Okay, but every year I need to shut down my office for 5 days because I need to do a full cleaning of the office. Okay, technology advancements has allowed you to do to make you do the same work that you do in a smaller office, because a lot of documents now can be digitized, which means that the time that you take to clean up is no longer 5 days, it becomes 1 day. So these things are all technologically allowed improvements, which needs to be recommended and suggested by the engineers. Right. Okay. Then we also have the other big thing that is happening in this industry is decarbonization. Okay, I think Kalai spoke about it. So this is where I am right now. I took this this move into this area. So which means that it is a new learning for me. I don't know anything about hydrogen before, but now I know about hydrogen because it becomes my job. So my job is to learn. While doing the job, trying to create something, I also need to learn. It's hard. I have to go back to basics. Things that I never even studied in university before, the chemistry. I'm an instrument engineer. I learned electrical electronics, but now I have to learn about the chemistry of hydrogen because it's part of the job. So you learn. Okay. So why decarbonization? I think the current generation, you guys are all very conscious about polluting the environment and stuff. So and pollution is all based on carbon dioxide, right? So how can we reduce the carbon dioxide emission for the industry? So this one, we need a lot of engineers to help us, help the whole industry, not Petronas, the whole industry to produce what we want to produce, because the customer still wants. You still need your fuel. You still want your iPhone, your watches, all the products that you have using this oil and gas product. You still want, but you want it now to be clean. So how to make it clean but still be profitable at the same time? So there's a lot of technological challenges, application, new way of doing things, unknown safety. So again, here there's a lot of opportunities. Okay, and there's another one called smart manufacturing, but maybe I don't need to go inside that. I think I've just given enough examples that the industry is still big and still needs a lot of engineers. Okay, so based on all this, right? So I think one of the things that you all, I think, would like to want to ask is like, oil and gas industry. So look, okay, oh yeah, it's so lucrative. Okay, why, why does it pay what it pays? Okay, I think this is something I want to highlight. Now, the oil and gas industry pays what it pays, and many other industries that pay what it pays is because there are associated risks as according to it. Okay. Where is oil and gas industry in this country? It's nowhere. It's places where people don't want to go. You want to go to Sabah? You want to go to Miri? You want to go Kerteh? We as a community sometimes are a bit comfortable in our comfort zone, right? And we don't want to go. If you want to go, there's opportunities for you to go. You have to go offshore. You have to go offshore. You need to do some some learning lessons in swimming. Go and sit in some modular helicopter. Save yourself for 2 days course, and then they'll fly you to the middle of the ocean in a helicopter, or maybe take a boat, suffer on the boat for 2 days, stay offshore, but you get paid. Okay, so it is the inconvenience and the risk that is associated. Okay, the risk I explained to you. There is potential for bad things to happen in our plant every single day. Okay, because I explained just now, we deal with high temperature, high pressures, big, huge equipment. So it's a big deal, and not many people are comfortable with that. But we put a lot of effort on safety. So there is a premium for people to do these things in segments that we might not feel comfortable in doing. Okay, so this is the premium. It is same like, we always talk about footballers, for example. Why do the top footballers get paid very highly? Because their career is very short. There's a big industry, yes, people are watching, so there's a lot of money in the game, but their careers are very short. And they work very hard to get to the very top. And if their careers are over because of an injury, then that's it. It's finished. Right? So I think the premium that is associated is always based on how much are we willing to do in this area, and how far are we willing to go against our comfort zones. Okay. About coming into Petronas or any oil and gas company, for example, right? I can tell you that there are many engineering companies in Malaysia which are service providers to the oil and gas industry. The work is hard. The pay is not so great in the beginning, but engineering pay overall across in Malaysia is a problem. Okay. I think if you can get a job in Starbucks right now as a barista and probably get this with your overtime and things, you can get about similar what the starting salary of an engineer can get. But this is a long haul game. Okay, and it's hard. It's hard, but it's how much you are willing to put in and how far you are willing to go lah. Okay, but at the same time, you can go outside of the country. How? Let me explain. If you do well in a service provider company, let's say you work for let's say a valve company, or a company that does engineering studies, or a company that does controllers, for example. They normally, why they are in business here is because they are service providers. So they will be involved in projects, they will be involved in maintenance. So you will definitely need to travel. You will need to travel, you will need to go and stay in these places, you will have to do these jobs. And sometimes eventually you might end up being in a project. Sometimes this project takes a long time to commission, then you keep going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But then there is a possibility that people who own the project get to know you because you are a service provider, and eventually the owner needs to operate and maintain. They might offer you to cross over and become a member of their company to operate the plant. So they can, and at that time, it's an opportunity for you, but it depends whether you want to take it or not. Because when you are doing the job to go and do the service provider, you are based, maybe your home base is KL or your home base is in a city, right? But now when you keep traveling there and when they offer you the job, your permanent position is in that particular place, but it's a comfortable job. So it really depends what you want. And if you want opportunities, there are plenty of opportunities here and globally. Okay, and globally means where are places where you might not want to go. Do you want to go to Middle East? If you want to go, there are plenty of opportunities there, I guarantee you. And now with the oil and gas industry is becoming very close with the energy industry, because power industry, power and oil is becoming very, very closely associated anymore. So and I'm sure you hear a lot about renewables. So renewables is now going to be like the new oil in the future. Maybe when the young ones are 20 years later in your career, renewable electricity from wind or from solar is going to be the new oil. What does that mean? That means places where deserts, right? Deserts have a perfect, very good profile to produce a lot of energy from the sun. So there's going to be a lot of projects that are going to be taking place in the desert. Would you go? So these are questions that you need to ask. There will be opportunities. It's a matter of whether you want to go or not, right? So, so I think I'm about time here. So I want to just give some sharing to all, basically parents and also students, with regards to career in this oil and gas industry. If you want to be in this industry, I can show you that there are plenty of opportunities, right? But which one to choose? You choose what you like. I just choose what you like, and I'm sure there will be something somewhere that you can do in this industry. It doesn't matter, electrical, mechanical, process, and because they are so interconnected, you will have to cross. Okay, what is the purpose of the degree? Right, when a lot of employers set degree in the oil and gas industry, degree as a benchmark. So as an employer, what does degree mean? Okay, to me, when we do hiring, right, a degree means somebody who has shown the ability to be able to learn and unlearn. He's able to, this person, he or she is able to learn. I mean, because I cannot ask you the fundamental. That's not why I hire you. Okay, in this industry, you are expected to show that you are willing to learn and you can master a lot of things. The willingness to learn. So please don't look at it like I need to go and do a degree and I need to be really, really good at that particular subject. It is not about the subject. It is about the personality. You should and you need to be good at what is it that you are doing in the first place. Okay, the subject doesn't matter. If you are doing something, you should do it to the best that you can. I mean, that should be your it's given so that consistency will be carried on throughout your career. So that I ask you to do something, you do it well. That's what it means sometimes when we see somebody with certain grades, right? So that's important. The other thing is, don't go to university and just study. Okay, networking is so important. Okay, in this environment, like I show you how interconnected oil and gas industry is, you must have to work with people. Okay, when you go to the plant, you must work with the process engineer, you must work with the electrical engineer, you must work with the process. You must be able to understand different things so that you cannot just understand your portion. You will need to work together with people to understand what is the actual problem that you are trying to solve. So you must have a personality that is willing and how do I say it, comfortable working with people. It's not for everybody. I know sometimes some people prefer to and most Indians I know sometimes we are way like that. Tak apa lah, this fella action ni lah. Every time want to answer question. I'm not normally asking you to do that, but when you are given the opportunity, you should go. You should present. If somebody asks, there's no volunteers, go for it. If there's a society or something event that requires to organize or something, just go. Right? There must be some kind of socialization or socializing means not go to club lah. That one okay, but once in a while okay so lah. So you have to create your own opportunities and you need to network. And that for me that is very important, because today if you don't network, who's going to know you? It's very difficult. And networking makes you stand out a bit lah, but you don't have to go and bug people, but I think you get what I'm trying to say about creating the opportunities for yourself. I think that's very important. So be open and adapt to changes. Okay, enjoy the learning, because you don't know where your career will end up. So in my journey also is the same. I do not know where I would end up being. I know if you told me I was going to end up in Kuantan, actually when I was sent to Kuantan, it's a funny story. When they interviewed me, the one place I did not want to go was Kerteh. And the only thing I know about Petronas at the time, imagine how ignorant I am. I'm a Petronas scholar. I don't know anything about Petronas. I only know they got operation in Kerteh and I don't want to go Kerteh, because weekend there is Friday, Saturday. Who wants to go? Cannot. So in the interview, they asked me for your preference. So I thought, if I say I want to go to KL, surely they won't ask me to, they won't give me lah. Surely they want to send me somewhere far. So okay. So I said I'll go to Sarawak. I chose to go to Sarawak at that time because I don't want to go to Kerteh. Okay. Then few days later, I thought about it. Hey, actually, Sabah better than Sarawak. So I called the HR up and said I want to change my preference. But at that time, they already the person who interviewed me at the time was the CEO of this petrochemical plant in Kuantan. I don't even know there's any operation in Kuantan. I only thought only Kerteh. So then they said, you are going to Kuantan. I said, okay, Kuantan. When I went to Kuantan, I don't even know anything about Kuantan. Never been to that part. But I had very good 8 years, almost 9 years of my life as a young engineer there. I made very, very good friends there. And I miss the place. It's very nice. It's a nice place to chill. So you have to be open and enjoy your journey, and don't be so rigid about what is it that you want. So you have to be flexible and do your work. Okay. So fundamentals are important. Okay, that's normal. And then lifelong learning. I think this one I cannot stress so much. You have to keep learning. And the other thing I wanted to say about when it is being able to be in front of people or socializing or networking is not easy for everybody. So sometimes there are some careers that you choose to be in the backseat, for example, like research. But over time, right, for example, you will never be comfortable if all your research, okay, is being taken by somebody else and then commercialized and somebody else gets the credit for it. You will not enjoy it. So how do you stop that? Because it's your effort. So whatever effort that you do, you need to create your success, and you need to create the opportunities for yourself to do more. So we as a community, we should not be shy and like tak apalah biar dia and all that. No, what is yours, what you do, you should account for it. Don't we have to rise up a bit as a community when it comes to your efforts. Okay, you should own your efforts. You should be rewarded for your efforts. Okay, and okay, we don't know everything. We must learn and grow together. This one also another problem. We cannot know everything, man. Okay, so we just have to be humble and do our job to the best that we can. We don't know, we ask, and it's all part of the learning. If you take it as learning, life become a bit more easier. Okay, I think I've said all I've wanted to say. Maybe stop sharing so I can see some crowd. Yeah. Okay, I'm good. Thank you. Over to you, Kalai.
Yep. Thank you, sir. Thank you for sharing a valuable lesson for all of us, for graduates, for prospective students, for teachers, for parents, and whoever's in the audience list. And it's been a valuable session. I hope the audience have found it more informative, as you have shared about the industry and where it is heading towards, the transition and the challenges behind. Certainly it's not always sunshine and rainbows whenever whenever you've been put through something that you have never wanted, or whenever you have to work with the clients that you have always not want to work with. And yeah, and certainly the upcoming graduates have to learn the art of networking, as well as to be able to present themselves better as a better candidates towards to the interviewers as well. And thank you, sir. We would like to thank, and we'd like to open the floor for Q&A. And as of now, we have two relevant questions, which we have. One from Kasturi Arjunan, which is, from what you shared so far in this industry, like based on the engineering background, I would like to ask your opinion about recruiting graduates from biotech or biochem background for OMG industries, and how a more technically inclined industry, or something that's purely dominated by, I can obviously say it's engineering principles, physics, and so on, views people who have studied a bit more about life, a bit more about biotech or biochem.
I'll be very honest, and I would suggest that if it's biological stuff, they will be users in terms of researchers, in terms of technology. When we talk about, I think there's a lot of sustainability efforts going on with the environment in marine biology, about our structures offshore.
Yes.
But
Yes.
how it directly being employed, I would not know.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I hope that we have answered Kasturi Arjunan's questions. And the next one is Shamini Devi Ganesan. Oil and gas is a depleting resource, and substitute resources are the main concerns now. Based on your experience, how long ONG would be an active industry? What is the next option should we consider?
I don't think you should choose careers based on sunset or sunrise. I think there is a lot of opportunities still, because if you think about it, right? I mean, I just showed you just now in the beginning, there's plenty of users in our daily lives that fully depend on oil and gas. So let's say it becomes renewable tomorrow. Renewables are not going to be able to start making all these things that you work with. So there is still a very emphasis on this one. And I think that question always ties back to what we see in our resources in this country. Right? We always see our reserves are depleting. Is less, and rich countries tend to be countries that have their own reserves. That is for the country. But if I think you all should think big, and we are all global people already today. I think you guys especially, like, I'm over 20 years here, so most of you young ones should think big and look at it we look at country. I think you all will look globally. So as an industry globally, oil and gas, I think it will still be there until you guys finish your careers. So the renewables industry is a coming up industry. The oil and gas industry will still be there until you guys finish your career. I can guarantee you that much.
Yes, yes, certainly, sir. I mean, regardless, renewables may have entered into the overall spectrum of the energy industry, but oil and gas still plays as a key enabler for renewable energies to function as they are. I guess, yeah. And the next question is from Vivendran. Hi, sir. Which spectrum of ONG specifically does the robotics and automation intervention, while intervention is rising high? Yeah.
What do you mean by intervention? I didn't.
Yeah. So which spectrum of ONG specifically does the robotics and automation intervention is rising high? Which means which part of which section of the oil and gas industry where the automation and robotics has been used extensively, or where the usage of it is quite frequent, I can say, in all streams.
Yeah, I think in all streams, I think, and also for the supporting services, right? So for example, if we look, because there's a whole supply chain behind, so you will need robotics for sometimes, if you go for offshore, even like, you know, drones is a form of robotics. Lifting is a form of robotics. If I want to do automated manufacturing, okay, example, in the oil and gas industry, if I look at downstream, of you produce what do you call this, like polypropylene, or
Yes.
those kind of things that will use automation for, you need to do packing, bagging, and all this stuff. There is automation there, because those products are in the form of pellets, or sometimes the products are in the form of big blocks, which you need to, different grades, you need to pack them. So robotics come into the picture there. So there are many spectrums that there will be.
Yes, and so far, I think that's settles our Q&A that's been posted. But are there any more questions from the audience? And if we don't have any more questions from the audience, so I hereby would like to represent CUMIG. I hereby would like to thank you for your time and your knowledge sharing. And we would absolutely appreciate whatever that you have said. And I hope these graduates would find it useful and they would be able to choose the right causes and their right careers. Thank you, Mr. Suren. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for the opportunity, and I wish you guys all the best in your career. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Ya Pak, không được cả.